Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today on Comparative Politics, we are going to be looking at the challenges or the problems faced in the study of comparative politics. As we know, comparative politics studies the different political systems or the different political structures around the world, but this is not without its difficulties. So in this very video, we are going to be looking at 7 of those challenges or 7 of those difficulties encountered in the study of comparative politics. Stick to the very end of this video to learn about this. Let's get started. The first problem in the study of comparative politics is the lack of universal framework. All countries of the world are different in terms of their history, in terms of their culture, in terms of their behaviors, and other forms of political activities and processes. So this becomes difficult in terms of comparison. This is because what might work in a particular country might not work in another. For example, what might work in a democratic country might not work in a country that practices dictatorship. So it becomes very difficult for us to just develop one theory or a particular model and then apply it universally. And of course, this proves a challenge in comparison. The next, we have bias in comparison. In comparing the different political systems around the world, we are prone to making the mistake of comparing these political systems based on our own political values and belief. Let me give you an example. Someone from a democratic country might have the belief that all non-democratic countries are bad. This makes it such that the comparison of those non-democratic countries by the researcher can be influenced by the personal bias of the researcher. This is because the researcher might be trying to understand those non-democratic countries by using democratic principles which the person believes in. And of course, this would influence the judgment of the researcher in such comparison. The next is difficulty in measuring political systems. It is sometimes difficult to measure some aspect of political systems. Take, for example, how do you measure freedom? How do you measure political stability? How do you measure human rights? So you see, it is very difficult for you to place a number on these variables. So this proves a challenge in comparing these different nations. Imagine you're comparing 2 different nations based on their level of freedom. So how do you measure freedom in the first place? It becomes very difficult for you to even quantify in such comparison. This proves a challenge in the study of comparative politics. The next is too much focus on Western systems. Most comparative studies often focus on Western countries when you talk about countries in Europe and also America. These countries are often used as models of democracy and governance. This creates a bias towards Western perspective, which might not be relevant or applicable in understanding other countries that have different histories or different cultural contexts. The next is political instability. There are some countries that their policies and governments often change. These countries are regarded as politically unstable countries. This is very predominant in military regimes. So it becomes very difficult for us to compare these countries because what might be the practice today might not be the practice tomorrow. So it becomes a challenge in terms of comparing those countries and other countries of the world. The next is the complexity of political systems. Political system is not just about governments or election, but it also involves other activities that also influences the political system. You have other social factors like religion, you have culture, you have behavior, and other factors that influences the political system. This makes it difficult in comparing the different political systems because understanding them will require a deep and nuanced understanding of the subject matter of the political systems. The next is lack of data and access. In comparing different countries of the world, we often rely on data from these countries in carrying out such comparison. But what about in situations where you are not able to access such data? Most especially in some countries where the government controls most of the information. For example, North Korea. Sometimes it is not about getting this data, but also how reliable are these data. This lack of access to data and vulnerability to unreliable data can make the scope of the comparison to be very narrow. And this would of course influence the validation of such comparison. This brings us to the end of this video. Despite all of these challenges, comparative politics is a powerful tool in understanding the complexities of political systems and the world around us. It is only important that we approach this study with care and open-mindedness. If you have any question, you can drop that in the comment section. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Thanks.